What up, guys? Welcome back to Think Shank, where we tackle questions about sports that aren't raised nor explored enough as far as we can tell. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkShank and email us at thethinkshank@gmail.com. I'm Skyler Reinhardt, your personal NBA junkie, philosopher, and tour guide, and today, oh boy, we are doing it half for clout and half for sanity because there has been, there's just been a lot that's happened and a lot to reflect on and a lot to sort of explore and analyze. So all of this excitement and intensity for the last third of the season, more or less, are kind of killing me. And if you're watching this in the future, you can probably notice there's a lot I want to get off my chest. So you can find me personally on Twitter at Reinhardt Skyler. That's ReinHardtSkyler, no A's, and Instagram at Skyler Sam, SAM Reinhardt. So what we want to do here is what I'm calling winter break takes. Obviously a reference back to school. Winter over there is, it's a little bit sided as well, but it's not perfectly even. Same thing with this. We have played about 2/3, a little more than 2/3 now, of the regular season. And so the original vision for this series was to get it out before the conclusion of All-Star break. Clearly was not able to do that, having a day job and learning this super fun, realm and skill set, basically, with producing video is what it is. So sorry I'm a little bit late, but I really, really think that this series, while it is pretty dense and pretty detailed, I think it is going to be very insightful, even with a lot of the statistics pulling from kind of Wednesday, Thursday last week, right before we were supposed to resume. But directionally, thematically, I really, really think this is going to be insightful for everyone. All right. So concept here, winter break takes, is to pump the brakes and take a look around. We want to answer this question. What have we seen from this year's contenders so far? And here's the framework that I developed to motivate the answer for it. So number one, the storylines for each of the contending teams, what is kind of defined, trades, emojis, whatever. The finalized rosters, glimpses of the strengths, weaknesses that have stuck out to me, both on the court as well as intangibles. And then, of course, the improvement areas to close out in the regular season. So I have, verbally, audio, video, I want to walk through sort of my thoughts and everything there. But importantly, I want to call out, check the pinned files on my socials. So I will be uploading these sort of one-page summaries, executive summaries, if you will. That's going to organize a lot of my findings in the format that I just outlined for each one of the contending teams. I just wanted one view for each of the teams. If you don't have time to listen to all this stuff, and I know it's pretty dense and pretty long, so I am not going to take it personally, but I am just a very, very passionate believer and harbor of radical transparency. I think it is amazing that people, talk about things and bring up statistics and bring up analysis and things like that. But personally, I just find it really hard to keep things straight and actually log things. And so, it's not necessarily about dumping a bunch of stuff on you. I just want it there for reference. So if you, of course, want to scrub through this video or episode, or not the episode, you just play which episode you want, but if you want to just check out those files and take a look there as well, there probably will be a little bit more detail than I'm going to cover even in each one of these episodes, but wanted to share that with you guys. So at least we're all looking and reading off of the same page. And also, it should be helpful to reference once the regular season is done. So without further ado, I said the thing about statistics from last week, so without further ado, please enjoy this episode. We are covering a lot. So thank you so much for tuning in, and let's think Shank. Hi. Welcome back, guys. We made it. You made it. I made it. I can't believe it. It is the final team in the winter break takes for the Western Conference. None other than the Golden Child, Golden Children, of Adam Silver and the basketball gods up in Olympus, the Golden State Warriors. Currently 10th place in the Western Conference. There are quite a number of things, so I just want to jump into it real quick. Great. All right, so overall, for the season, they are 27-26 at the time of recording this video. As of 2024, the last third of the season, they are 12-9, and then the past 2 weeks, they are 7-2. Recent push along with the Lakers, as you'll see here. Net differential overall has been 13th in the league, so slightly above average. Since 2024, they have been 10th, and then in the past 2 weeks, they have been 9th, cracked the top 10. Offensive rating, overall 10th since 2024, second in the past 2 weeks, 10th. Defensive rating, overall 20th, 2024, 23rd, and then the past 2 weeks, it has been 8th. Welcome back, Draymond Green. It has been ages. We've missed you dearly. Your starting unit is Steph, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Green. Coming off the bench, you have CP3, of course, Quinones, GP2, Klay Thompson, and Dario Saric. And then I will add him in here, and he is actually going to be a point of discussion I want to bring up, but Trace Jackson Davis, another one of the newbies on the team who's he might wind up being up there in like some of the most important kind of young guys on the team, considering that I didn't even mention Looney either, but Looney can't really walk or run anymore, so Jackson Davis is their 6'9 plus backup center, basically, always undersized. Of course, it's a Steve Kerr team. Okay, so season summary. The first storyline is Draymond : in my Kanye era, LOL. If you haven't checked out my Phoenix video, it wound up encompassing most, if not all, of this entire storyline, so I don't necessarily want to rehash the entire thing. It honestly is kind of stupidly detailed and convoluted and complex and whatever, and the reason it came up is part of it came up with Nurkic and Draymond and their beef or whatever earlier in the season, which again might prove to be somewhat relevant if they end up matching up together in the play-in, which would be, oh my god, diabolical. I would fear for Nurkic's life and well-being. He should definitely say goodbye and take an extra few seconds to say goodbye to his family before that game, if that happens. But strawman, 30,000 foot view of the whole thing really quick is start of the season. Draymond Green came in kind of, I guess, Kanye off his meds a little bit. Way too much physicality, seemed kind of out of control, but no, blatantly out of control. And people were attributing it to his, declining sort of physicality, physical frame and profile with his age, and him trying to overcompensate and kind of freak out a little bit more, trying to really maintain that edge in the psychological game, within the game, And so two things happened. One, against Minnesota very early in the season, Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson got into it on the sideline. It was some kind of tiff, and they were just barking at each other. And then I think Gobert basically came over, and I think it was like, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he ended up in that group or whatever between the two of them. I think they were just, jawing at each other. Draymond comes over and puts Rudy in a chokehold for like 15, 20 seconds straight, and gets suspended for 5 games, and it was tough look. I know he did, he had some of his people in the media, put out his statements and do all this stuff, and he actually took a break from the podcast, which is wild, and whatever. Not, I don't think it was his very first game back. It might have been the second or third or something after that. Warriors at the time of that showdown with Phoenix, where the Nurkic thing happened, they were 11-14, under 500, not a great start to the season. 11-14, 25 games in, that's basically a third of the season, that's right around New Year's, and comes back and does the thing where Nurkic is behind him, and he thinks Nurkic is being a little too handsy on an inbounds play. I'm assuming he's supposed to get the ball. He claims he was trying to get the referee's attention or draw attention to the contact. Does a full 180, open hand smash the shit out of Nurkic in the face, and Nurkic, falls on the ground. It's a blatant flagrant 2, gets ejected. It was so bad that the league actually deferred making a decision on how long the suspension should be. It was an indefinite suspension, which, again, I ended up kind of naively, unnecessarily, unwarrantedly going on a tangent about that. I just indefinite suspensions are a stepping stone to a police military state that I don't think we want and we should not tolerate. Similarly with the 65 game threshold and in-season awards and all the voters for those things, we don't even know who they are. I think that is a kind of blatant violation and infringement of kind of customers', just knowledge and awareness of certain things. If you're trying to sell us a product and you're not telling us kind of who the people are behind the scenes and stuff like that, I just don't think that's very good. Anyway, so the suspension is indefinite, and I think what it ultimately came down to was Adam Silver was like, this is a chronic issue. Draymond has a history of this stuff, and I believe that was even mentioned in the official kind of press release when they said it would be an indefinite thing and he's just going to be away from the team, whatever. Like they factored in his previous history, which, again, if you really, really don't know, Draymond Green, wow. I am a certified hater, so you should probably go Google and preferably, this would be my challenge, is go to a Dubs Golden State YouTube channel or podcast and see if you can find them discussing Draymond's lashings out, whatever that would be, however you say words there, from this past season. I actually think it is beyond inexcusable. I can't imagine there would be any shred of anything there, but Draymond has full-on stomped on the sternum of Domantas Sabonis. He has kicked, I believe, 3 different people in the groin area in the playoffs. He, had the full-on choke out of Rudy Gobert from behind. He open hand smacked Nurkic in the face. He is obviously, he just brings a very, very serious edge. And then, not to mention the whole groin kicking thing, I'm trying to choose my words carefully there, kind of cost him the 2016 finals. So we love to think about 2016 as a year that LeBron became the greatest ever, or maybe not, or the second greatest, whatever you want to say. Draymond Green got himself suspended for a game of that 7-game series because he literally cannot control himself. And then, obviously Bron wins with that unbelievably under-talented team, whatever. And, that great teams, great players, they're just going to obviously do their job, take advantage of what's given to them. But I just want to put that in perspective. And so, smacks Nurkic, hands it off to Golden State. The reason I bring up the context is Golden State, in my opinion, has proven at this point that they are incapable of not only disciplining or kind of coaching their superstars. It's basically parenting, in my opinion. Draymond's out of control, and this isn't new at all, and clearly this is just, like I said, pattern. I also think about Klay Thompson this year, which I'll get to. He is all but crying in post-game conferences, more than a few this year. He is really, really struggled and is now coming off the bench. If you notice on my starting unit lineup, like Klay Thompson, the other Splash brother, he has nosedived so hard that he's coming off the bench now, which, again, might actually be, which I think is the right move, unfortunately. And obviously the guy's had two of the most insane injuries. Worst injuries he can possibly have. But that happened. And then Draymond ended up being suspended for 12 games and comes back from that. And then, wouldn't you know it, they play Phoenix very, very soon after then. In that next matchup, right? I mean, they just go right back to it. I mean, I was going to ask you to, ask yourself, the proverbial self, what might have... Absolutely nothing. Him and Nurkic are not only jawing at each other during that... I don't even know if it's a second... We'll just say second matchup for the story. Within the story, the second matchup. Draymond's been suspended for 12 games in between after smacking the shit out of Nurkic on the floor, which... Criminal assault. It's insane that even happened. Not to mention, Draymond full-on punched the shit out of Jordan Poole on camera last year, and his team not only traded that guy out, but paid Draymond to stay even longer. He had, $100 million for, I think, 4? They fucking traded Jordan Poole into hell on earth, purgatory on earth, whatever you call it, that is the Washington Wizards, who got his shit rocked by Draymond Green on camera, and that dude got sent the fuck out. Okay, anyway, I just... It blows my mind that happened. Draymond and Nurkic are doing the, too small shit when they're scoring on each other. They're drawing at each other quite a bit. That is also the game that came down to the last second Steph, 3, I think it was 0.7 seconds left or something. Did an inbound play, and Beal kind of shit the bed and went for the steal off the inbounds. Honestly, wasn't even close. He, frankly, just cost him that game, and that was really ill-advised. But, yeah, he, tried to steal it, and of course he didn't. So that meant, Steph just basically could do, a 180, and then just... I mean, for him, that really was, I mean, that was an open shot. I don't want to, belittle that. Great. I'm glad I did it. But I'm pretty sure Golden State ended up winning that game, right? I think it was by 1 point or something. So it was not quite a buzzer beater technically, but basically was. After the game, reporters go follow Nurkic into the locker room, and this is before the actual press conference. This is in the locker room. You can see it in the video. Ask him, how is it playing against, Draymond again? How did he seem? And, Nurkic kind of said what everybody saw. He's no, he's the exact same. I don't think he learned anything, and there's really nothing that's different. And then, of course, the media does what the media does, and they take that footage right away, and they run right to the actual press conference, and the winners get the press conference. So then they bring it up to Steph and Draymond, and wouldn't you know, when they ask him about it, hey, Nurkic said this, what do you think about that? First thing out of their mouth, yeah, he's a sore loser. Yeah, so they lost. So any substance behind what he actually is saying is completely invalidated because he lost and he sucks. And then after the press conference, and Steph is included in that, and I think that's extremely disappointing that they would do that, but I digress. Excuse me. And then Draymond took it even a step further. He does what he always does and goes right back to his podcast, after the game, which at this point is just a ritual, and I just cannot imagine that this is just a good thing for a guy this unstable to have as well. As far as the podcast goes, it blows my mind that the Warriors organization, frankly, lets him do it this way, or at all. I'm going to be honest, at all. And, obviously takes the liberty to expand on his takes and goes into Nurkic's box score and his stats and him as, his past, his, what kind of a player he is, and just rips into him. He's you're a fucking bitch, you suck, yada yada, points on points, your teams have sucked and you suck, and that's awesome. So, nice job. Great work, Golden State. You guys are fantastic. Love that. And then they started playing really well. So, Draymond's back on the floor. As with all things, winning solves everything. So, as I said, the past 2 weeks they're 7-2. Their net differential's 9th. Their offensive rating is 10th. Their defensive rating is 8th. And what are you going to do? This is always how it works. And then who takes the fallout? Jordan Poole's face and Nurkic's face and Rudy Gobert's throat. Not anybody on Golden State, but who am I? That is it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So Draymond is fucking batshit insane still in his Kanye era. He's lashed out harder than he ever has before, missed more time as a result than any time before, and basically hasn't seemed to change. Oh, and I forgot to mention my favorite part. You should Google this if you haven't already seen it. Maybe you did on Twitter. I don't think there is a better encapsulation of, my point. With that. I actually think that this is a severe, severe risk for this team. I mentioned the 2016 finals, which I think Draymond himself has even confirmed and validated on other podcasts or other media appearances. I cost us the title. I cost us that. And here we are. I think this could easily happen again. And unfortunately, even worse. Because I think Golden State is worse as a team. So, seriously, if Draymond did not come back, there's no way the defensive rating would be where it is. There's no way the offensive rating would be what it is. Draymond is the yin to Steph's yang. He's the one playmaking for them. He is essentially their point guard because Steph is always covered. He's smothered at all times, that he literally cannot be the playmaker of the team. He cannot. He's too good at shooting. He literally cannot be the point guard. That's what Draymond Green does. So on both ends of the floor, he is easily the second best player on the team. And so, way bigger risk this year. And there was one more thing I was going to say. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But that is the storyline so far. So, yeah, things have really looked up. We'll see where that lands. Okay. Storyline number 1. Storyline number 2 now is the collapse of the Golden Empire, i.e. the death lineup. So, obviously the death lineup had Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's over in Phoenix now. So that was easy, but I just thought of this name just as a catch-all for it. So, 1, Draymond is, being a crabby, tantrum-throwing baby with a knife, and he is going to get himself arrested for misdemeanor felonies. And then there's Klay Thompson. Actually, before I jump into Klay, I just want to give a nod quickly. Steph is fantastic, and he's still a top 5 player in the league, no doubt. And I think at the beginning of the season, it really just became clear he just, he's 35 now, whatever. People are really quick to just bring up age as a catch-all term. Draymond just, again, could not actually be available, and the rest of the team is just super young, and they made bets in places that didn't end up panning out. Most notably CP3. I think that was a really stupid kind of trade for them. That dude is literally never available ever. But now just let me touch on Klay quickly. Excuse me, I apologize. Oh my god. Ooh. Blah, blah. Okay. I feel bad for what I'm going to say, but who cares? He's generationally wealthy. You don't become a professional athlete and kind of crumble this way. I can try to empathize. I can empathize in theory, but, it's a lot different here. What Klay Thompson has endured this year is, in my opinion, like a metaphor for the crumbling of any dynasty. Like, kind of reminds me of like the Pats when Brady went to Tampa, right? Or like maybe Miami after Braun went back to something. It's not like his ACL tear and then ensuing Achilles tear were like singularities, where it was before they happened, the dynasty was on, full on, perfect, and then after they happened, it was completely over, right? Singularity like the Big Bang. There was no before, there was no after, there was just one moment, and it's over. This season is what it's really like. It is a slow, agonizing, dehumanizing, crumbling, and like disintegration of not only your own performance and, you know, the outcomes you are seeing, but it is the disintegration of your vision and picture mentally of how good you are and how good the team is in reality, in the true context of things, right? We all have theoretical views and visions of what things are, how things should be. And unfortunately, when it comes to being a professional athlete, like in this sense, and especially being such an accomplished one like Clay, like, it honestly reminds me of like very spoiled children being really spoiled and then ending up getting in a race or getting in a game or something against kids who have had to fight and claw for shit and are like way more dogs than they are, and they're like, this fucking sucks and I hate this and this isn't fair and why is this the way, you know what I mean? That is how it's been. And the reason I started this off by saying I feel bad for what I'm going to say is so much of his degradation comes from those unbelievably terrible injuries that are perfect encapsulations of misfortune. Don't get it twisted. That is true. He is also not the first person to experience either of those injuries. He also happens to be in the most successful system team ever? Question mark ever? I think, I don't know, the basketball scholars would probably, you know, slightly nod. It's not that I want that to happen to even Draymond or Steph or whatever. But like, what I've just thought about while watching, and I haven't even given you data points. Like, I haven't even specifically called out things that have happened, but like, this is, I can't help but feel like we're looking down the barrel of the shotgun. We are looking down the tunnel right now at what this is going to look like. And this is the reason why Steve Kerr signed an extension last week, I believe, that basically extended out his coaching contract with the Warriors to perfectly line up with Steph Curry's, because I don't actually think Steve Kerr will ever coach in the NBA again. I think he is completely done. He is going to walk right out in the sunset, and the exact same as Steph Curry. The exact same. There's no way he's going to build anything up again, and I don't think he is willing to like run around and kind of not, it's not necessarily, I don't think, on his end, like James Harden, for example, where it's like, I am the system, I'm not a system player, whatever. I just think that they just breached and reached such great heights that, you know, they will retire as Warriors. Same with Draymond, same with Klay Thompson. No fucking doubt. So, why is this called the collapse of the Golden Empire? Klay's shot terribly this year. So terribly that he found himself getting benched, coming off the bench, well, full-on benched, coming off the bench, and visibly just leaking bleeding confidence in not only concerning, but like I know, I'm sure there are much more poignant adverbs or adjectives about this, but there's a very like very strong human sense of loss and sadness in like how he has disintegrated and devolved. Bad shots, doesn't look like he's getting, you know, the right sort of lift. I hear, you know, actual analysts and mechanics, shooting mechanic people and whatever, people actually know what the fuck they're talking about. It seems like he's just not physically actually like kind of like doing what he's supposed to be doing as somebody who has had such insane injury. Like it's really bad on the court. And then the kicker for me that, I mean, I can understand and any human being can understand is, again, the guy is borderline crying in these post-game conferences where the reporters are just asking him like very basic questions, and the dude is treating it like a therapy session. And I appreciate kind of, I think Malika, I don't fucking know, whoever the spokesperson at ESPN who goes on Zach Lowe's podcast all the time. They're basically an ambassador of whatever team they're a part of, but she was just saying something, Clay doesn't take a lot of questions, but his answers are always super sincere, and it's amazing. They're way too sincere, dude. And this connects, I'm sorry, to the Draymond stuff, where back to the parenting aspect, I shouldn't have to feel like I'm in the grocery store aisle watching you fail at parenting your children. Like, that's what it feels like. I don't want to see this dude cry. I have loved watching him play as a fan of the league. Whether it's in the locker room, Draymond literally has had to like Batman swoop in to like cut off reporters from talking to Clay because he will literally talk himself into like an emotional breakdown. And there's footage of this. Again, while he's really struggling from the floor, he is literally now replaced in the starting lineup by a rookie. Brandon Pajemski, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to knock on you, man, but listen to me. Clay, I'm sure, doesn't fuck with that. I'm sure he is getting himself in the frame of mind to thinking, man, I could just Lou Williams, Jordan Clarkson this shit, and I will just light everybody up on the second or bench unit on the other team. Excuse me, but like that's how it's been, guys. And so Draymond has to be in the starting lineup. They need him at the 5 because Looney literally can't run. And oh yeah, that was the other thing I was gonna say. Looney the mummy. So I'll just leave that with Clay. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't want to talk about it too much because it's clear. It's obviously very personal and very. It's just very personal. I just keep going back to, again, the staff there. I just think that's a really, really poor... it's a really poor way to manage this stuff. Like, again, I know it's very simple and easy to point to, and, the hypothetical is really hard to prove or disprove. I don't think Eric Spoelstra is having this happen, I don't think Popovich is like letting his guys again do this. Both. Seriously. I don't think he's putting up with Draymond Green going out there and getting himself borderline arrested. Indefinite suspensions. I don't think they're also letting their guys get so fucking depressed and, overflowing with self-loathing that they need to be taken away from reporters. Like, I think this should reflect very poorly, I'm sorry, on Steve Kerr, this coaching staff over there. Okay. 2 more guys. 1, Kevon Looney. No idea. Dude has always kind of reminded me of like a pit bull, in the sense of, like, have you ever been next to a pit bull and listened to it try to breathe? It's fucking sad, dude. It's like how much inbreeding or whatever had to happen for you to barely be. It's really weird. So you watch that dude even try to run up and down. It's uncomfortable to watch him try to run. I don't even know what his minutes per game are, but I literally could not imagine him playing more than 20, I think even less. I can't imagine him playing more than like 15 minutes a game. His role and his acumen within the Warriors system is still fantastic, of course, all the mental stuff. He understands the extra passing. He understands the commitment to offensive rebounding. You know, he's always just been an offensive rebounding magnet. So I have Looney the Mummy here. It's unfortunate. I really can't. I don't even know what his contract is. I can't imagine him playing literally again, honestly. If he plays after this season, it's going to be like a Udonis Haslem type of thing over in the Warriors, where he literally plays for like in garbage time, but all he is there to do is come build camaraderie and be a mentor to the younger guys. Seriously, it's that bad. And then the last guy, of course, is Wiggins. So this is basically a dark spot of on the map. And, if you go on Google Maps, and I live in Southern California, and you just go on the map and see where the military has their bases, and it is just a big, blacked out area of the map. That is basically what Andrew Wiggins' entire professional and personal lives are. To me, and I think the general public. So the only context I can give here is that I think it was actually around a year ago. I can't remember if it was in 2023 or like before New Year's, so still like 2022 or whatever, where he took an extended period of time like away from the team for, quote, personal reasons. Warriors played it super, super close to the chest, and again, it was, I want to say it was on the order of months. It wasn't like weeks. It was like, I think a couple months or something he had to be away from the team. So the only reason I bring that up is, well, one, that happened, but two, he was just never the same player again. And I'm sorry. This is like exactly how it's gone for the Warriors, man. It doesn't feel too different from Klay Thompson, frankly. Wiggins again, at least, but that wasn't like an injury, at least to our knowledge. But he came back from that break, and man, he was not himself. He just doesn't look confident ever, and he looks like a shell of himself, and that's how it has been. Excuse me. Earlier in the season, one of the young guys on this team, Jonathan Kuminga, actually came in and, he basically took his minutes. Like, Wiggins is also, like, shitting the bed so bad that Kuminga is a third-year player. And I think in the beginning, Steve Kerr had him replace Wiggins at the 3 in the small forward position and, have, like, Green or Saric or whoever at the 4. And, now Kuminga has shifted to the 4, but, that was the thing. They were jockeying for that position, and, literally Kuminga was, taking his minutes. Wiggins was so bad. So as to say, Wiggins a ghost. I don't know where he goes, and I think he missed a couple games, recently, within the past week or so as well, for these personal reasons. I am not trying to be the fucking police of people's own lives. End of the day, a job is just a job, and whatever you have going on personally, do it. But as it relates to the Warriors, though, that is a big fucking deal, right? So you have Wiggins the Ghost, Looney the Mummy, and Klay the Crumble. That's what I got, guys. It's really sad for the collapse of the Golden Empire. Steph playing well. Virtually everybody else is not. Oh, and also Gary Payton. I mean, I know. He was just on that 2022 title team. He was hurt for, the first, like half of the season too, or more than that actually, I think. So they've just been a mess. Okay, cool. So that is the second storyline. The third one now is the newbies won't be new for long. So, silver lining, we like to keep it positive here when we can. We got some really interesting new guys, and I mentioned one of them off the top, Jonathan Kuminga, third-year player, draft pick, obviously by the Warriors. He has, in 2024, so this past third of the season, he's been probably their second-best player. That's been, I don't know, probably him and Green probably tied, whatever you want to say, at least offensively, because he has somehow carved out a role for himself as somebody who he doesn't shoot threes, but I think he's been averaging like over 20 points a game he's actually helping the team run in transition. Oh, well, actually, let me back up here. Sorry. I should just start with the profile and whatever else. But Jonathan Kuminga, he is a bigger, younger version of Andrew Wiggins, basically, minus the outside shooting, plus a shit ton more competitiveness. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what, like juice, essentially. And and plus even more like athleticism as well. So juice meaning more the mental stuff, but like also the actual physical tools, physical juice. There won't be that many matchups, I actually think, for the Warriors. I mean, they'll definitely make the play-in or whatever, but even in the playoffs, like, I don't think you're gonna find many teams that will actually have somebody more athletic than him. Like maybe Anthony Edwards. I mean, the Rockets won't make the play-in, but I'd say almost like a Jalen Green kind of person where like the dude just kind of skywalks and you just like see he makes like a couple plays a game where you're like, wow. And it's not like Victor Wembanyama wow, where he's just clearly a freak of nature. Like Kuminga's like 6'8", or something like that, whatever. He's like 23, whatever you want to say. But like, back to my thing is he's super fast. He can skywalk. He is getting better and better at using his actual weight, whether it's kind of actually in the post, doing turnaround stuff, being able to finish through contact better, finish around the rim better. But most importantly, by far, is he can actually create his own shot, which is unbelievably important. And again, it's not from three, which I think is like really important to call out. Schematically, sure, but also, well, I guess schematically. So I said earlier that him and Wiggins in the beginning were jockeying for the same position. Saric cannot play any defense whatsoever, and that will always be the reason he is not on the floor. Kerr eventually realized that his best play was to have Kuminga play at the 4, which then, of course, opened up the 3 for Wiggins to come back in, and Wiggins has been better the last month and change. Kuminga has balls, man. So earlier in the season as well, this is in November, maybe late November, December, maybe. He was really struggling to integrate into the Warriors system on the court, and that was just another thing that was not going well with the Warriors was Clay's shitting the bed, GP2's hurt, CP3's never healthy, Looney can't walk, and then they'd be like, okay, well, we drafted this kid 3 years ago, he's a freak, let's just try it, and he didn't like shooting threes. I know that's a drastic oversimplification, but I don't think I think he knew that really wasn't his game, and so basically, the body language doctors and everybody were like, yeah, this kid's just not really jiving super well with Kerr and people and all these trade machine ideas and all that. Excuse me. Kuminga goes on a podcast, or maybe it was an interview. Honestly, I don't even remember. But there was just the actual quote just got out, and everybody was like reading it, and you could see right from him in the mist, like deep in the mud of all this stuff, was Kuminga said, I'll get subbed out of the game and not even understand what I did wrong. The kid is 21 years old. I think I said 23 earlier. I apologize. He is 21 years old. I know that for a fact because I'm just remembering the actual thing now. But you can probably picture how that was received. We're talking about the dynasty Golden State Warriors who went to the finals 5 years in a row with this coach, with this system, with whatever. And you are 21 years old, and now you are talking to the press about your displeasures, which granted, if you followed the Lakers when Shaq and Kobe were doing their thing, they refused to actually confront each other ever. Like, they just bitched to the reporters all day about each other and how much they hated each other. Like, this idea isn't necessarily completely new, but those two guys were trying to build what the Warriors are trying to maintain, and that at least initially was like, oh no. And on top of everything else I'm saying. And then you had the narratives come out, which I'm really curious about personally, and I'd love to have like an actual conversation with like somebody who is very, very in the trenches and very in the weeds with the Warriors franchise. But the narratives came out about like, oh, Kerr just hates young players. You know, they drafted Wiseman number 2 overall, in 2020 or whenever that was. And, you know, they at the time needed a big man, but like didn't really, like they just looked at it moment in time snapshot. Like, we can basically take this kid, whatever, like I think he played like 2 games or something in his only year in college, and they still took him number 2. How are you going to get a kid like that to like be able to perform on a championship contending team right away? Like, it was just not a very smart move. I'm sorry. And then obviously he gets shipped out super fast because in the G League and yada yada. Just an example of young players not, you know, doing super well. And so, you know, Kuminga's complaining about his playing time. He's complaining about the system and not understanding what he's supposed to be doing, which, one, I never heard closure on, like, as far as I wonder how that conversation went between Kerr and the coaching staff and Kuminga after that happened. I don't even remember who he talked to, but interesting. But we know what ended up happening is, holy cow, it worked. And I will be the first one to admit that I did not expect this. I feel and have always felt like Steve Kerr is like not like a control freak, but he basically mandates complete fidelity to his scheme and system. It is not a debate thing. It is a tested and proven, tried and tested model and framework of what we're doing. Steph is still a top 5 player, therefore we are doing this. I thought Kuminga was going to get out of there, but then I also thought Draymond was going to be the one who took the fall when he punched his own teammate on camera, and the complete opposite happened. And just like here, the complete opposite happened. Kuminga not only got his playing time, but like Kerr gave him a chance. And I'll be honest, I actually think Kuminga, Kerr giving Kuminga a chance to help the team the way that Kuminga knew he could play, essentially letting him play to his strengths, is the most important and impactful piece of their entire season this year. Again, given everything else that was going on, you didn't have an Andrew Wiggins to fall back on. He is a ghost, or at least was at the time. Like, basically an unplayable player. Like, people were talking about trade scenarios. You would have had to attach picks with Wiggins to get him out. It was that bad. Clay is on suicide watch. Green is about to get put in a penitentiary. And so I don't know if it was just back against the wall and Kerr's like, fuck it. I literally don't have anything else to kind of lose here. Or Kuminga, I don't know, is just wise beyond his years and somehow, I don't know, got him to listen to him. I was just absolutely amazed that ended up happening. So very, very incredible, redemption arc, overall story for Kuminga. I actually am extremely, extremely happy for him. And again, for all the reasons I laid out, it feels to me like a perfect storm where if, like, kind of like how Draymond and they found the whole system thing, it was like whatever it was, David Lee gets hurt and then they put Draymond at the 5 and then it ends up being great, right? And the rest is history. I feel like if Wiggins doesn't go through this stuff and, like, Clay doesn't do that and blah, 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 dude, Kuminga might dead ass be in, like, fucking Charlotte right now. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I could easily see a world where Kerr is just like, nope, axe him, he's fucking gone. Same with Wiseman, like, same exact thing. So, you know, now Kuminga has really done an incredible job. There was, like, a stretch of, like, 8 or 9 games. It might still be happening, honestly. I'm not even sure. But there was a stretch of games. He was, like, averaging, like, 20-plus points a night. And he was, like, their second best offensive player. At least as far as production and box score stuff. Again, with Draymond, like, he's still going to be technically your second best, I think. But anyway. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. You know, the whole NBA community knows his name, obviously, now and stuff, whatever. So he's helped himself and he's helped the team. He's helped the team and helped himself in the process. So that is just an incredible story in and of itself. We'll see what happens. All right, the second guy is Brandon Podziemski. He is coming out of Santa Clara here. Absolute dog, short white guy. You'll see him with his, like, Jufro thing and his headband. Quintessential, I'm sorry, just, like, scrappy white dude out there. I think he definitely was. I don't know right this second. You're watching this in the future, so maybe it's different by then. But he was leading the league in charges taken. You know, never hesitates to, like, sacrifice his body, essentially. Diving for loose balls. Golden State is a very pro offensive rebounding team that is, like, schematic, strategic decision that they've always had. They want to win the possession battle because they believe so much in their shooters. Even if the quality of the shots that they get off of offensive rebounds aren't necessarily great, they usually are better, right? They usually, if you can offensive rebound and kick it out right away, it's usually going to be a better quality shot. But even if it isn't, they just have always trusted in their shooters so much it doesn't matter. And if we just play the possession game from an analytical perspective and just hit enough shots, we will win the game. And Podziemski has just fit into that system perfectly. I guess sort of similar to the Kuminga piece, he can also create his own shot. He can initiate a little bit as well. I've seen him be very effective in the float game. That seems to be a big strength of his. And he just doesn't miss open threes. Which, if you can self-initiate a little bit, like operate a pick and roll, like hit the roll man or, you know, do some kind of pass out of that action, whatever, to somebody else. If you can do that, if you can make some kind of a short, mid, like, shot, whether it's a push shot, a hook shot, you know, whatever, and then you just don't miss open threes, like, that is the minimum bar threshold that you need to get any minutes on a Steve Kerr team right there. That is it. That is literally it. And he has nailed that. So, you know, he's a rookie. He was in the Rising Stars thing. He really deserves it, man. He's obviously just grinded. And he's made some really, really tough shots, too. So I really like his upside. He seems... I just can't imagine him not being a Warriors guy. Like, it's just one of those, like Jaime Jaquez on Miami. Like, they're just... Like, Jaime Jaquez, I don't know. There's going to be somebody on Twitter that comes up with some, like, Jimmy Butler joke about that, of, like, Jimmy Jaquez Jr. Like, he's going to be the next Jimmy Butler and just get to the line, like, 20 times a game in the playoffs, and it's going to be great. I don't know if Podziemski, I don't know how good of a shooter he's going to end up being, but he can run for fucking ever, and seems like his shooting is already great. I'm sure it's only going to go up, 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 and up. I just see him being a Warrior person forever. Okay, great. Third guy, Jackson Davis, who I've already mentioned before. He is another rookie. I've called him the anti-Looney. Excuse me. Like I mentioned before, he is, he is very quick at a size. If you watched my Dallas video, where I talked about Gafford and Derek Lively, they just seem to be very, very athletic, very in tune with their bodies and their proportions, that kind of stuff, and just move very quickly. And it's different from just being young and fast. It is actual athleticism and coordination to me. And I just love it. This dude is just like very aware, very spatially aware. He obviously does not have the same grasp or like cerebral mapping of the floor like Looney does. And he definitely doesn't have the experience that Looney does when it comes to getting offensive rebounds and stuff. But like it's almost the opposite of Wemby or like Dame with Giannis this year, where Wemby doesn't have a point guard. Dame has never played with a Giannis before. I think Steph, and weirdly this rookie Jackson Davis, or kind of I guess Luka with Derek Lively, maybe to an extent. Yeah, basically. This is just hype. I mean, it's just like juice. When you get a dude who can roll and give you rim pressure, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. If you want to hear my whole spiel on Dallas and why their recent acquisitions at the trade deadline, maybe not this year. This is, when you do these halfway point like trades, especially bigger swing ones, and they don't end up necessarily being amazing right away in that very same season, I'm never that surprised. But I just feel like with Steph that's just like something he really hasn't had. Because again, the thing with Steve Kerr is he has an absolute boner fetish for small and quick, just like he himself was on the Chicago teams, right? I listened to a very, very interesting podcast that went through this very interesting just psychoanalysis of Steve Kerr and how he basically is just mapping who he himself was as a player into an entire system. Think about it. Basically, he sees himself as Steph Curry before Steph Curry. And obviously, looking back on it, he was thinking the entire time about, hey, if this was about me and not Michael Jordan, how could we maximize this with space and movement and all of those things, right? That is permeated through every single nook and cranny of the entire roster and team and, strategy, where even the centers, right? The death lineup itself had who else at 5 but Draymond Green. He is barely 6'7", 6'6", something like that. Obviously is a fucking crazy person, and that helps, but undersized, fast, quick, everybody run faster, continue to run, do not stop running. That is what they do. Jackson Davis can actually run the floor. There were times in transition, again, I brought up the Kuminga stuff in transition. Dude, Golden State has not actually been, even though they have been small and all these things, they really haven't been that great in transition, honestly. And it's just great to see Jackson Davis kind of do this stuff. So he, they're basically playing Draymond, starting him at 5 still again. So Jackson Davis will be coming off the bench, and I don't know how they're going to rotate him with Looney on the non-Draymond minutes, especially in the postseason, but just want to put that on your radar. And the last but not least guy I want to mention is Lester Quinones, who is technically a second year, but was in the G League last year, I think in like the Santa Cruz whatever team, basically the Warriors affiliate G League team. Basically got called up because they just needed more guys, and none of the actual guys were playing really well. So I just want to call him out because I just fuck with his energy, and I like his swagger a lot. At least before he signed his whatever 2-way contract. So he played, I forget how many games before he actually got the contract to finish out this season. So I believe that's how that works with the 2-way contract. Is it's like a like basically he came in and played a handful of games, and not like garbage time minutes, by the way. Like, it was actually pretty wild how fast, like, I feel like he started playing like meaningful minutes for them, and even before he signed the contract to stay on the team for the rest of the season. So I think he like signed whatever, some kind of, I don't know if it was a 10-day or whatever the 2-way thing actually means. I'm not even entirely sure. Proved himself, and then signed a contract to play out the rest of this season. And then after the end of this season, of course, they can talk about, signing a more longer term thing. But he just came in again before he even got that actual contract for this season thing. Dude was like attacking closeouts confidently, putting up flip shots and push shots, like like quality NBA defenders and like much bigger, taller shot blockers. Oh yeah, plot twist. Sorry, I didn't give you any of these builds because I'm doing super well here. If you couldn't tell, Quinones is a fucking guard, and so is Pajemski. And I would say Quinones is probably like 6'4", something like that. I know he's from Long Island, which I also just think is cool. But he actually has some size, which is great. So like, can attack closeouts. Was shooting the ball pretty well from the outside. He just seems like very spry. But again, with that build and profile was just something that I really liked. So the size, the guard skills, and then the confidence are like the big three for me. It didn't seem like he was holding that steady on the other side of getting that contract. I'm sure he'll find his way back in, but as I've been tuning back into two Warriors games since the resumption of the All-Star break, it seemed to be a little bit more up and down kind of stuff. But I've been trying my best to get more in tune with some of these other teams and stuff in the process. So from what I did see, I was really impressed. And then Pajemski has got to be maybe 6'1", 6 feet, something like that. Really, really small. And then Jackson Davis, has got to be like 6'9", 6'10" probably. Kuminga, like 6'8", something like that. So all of that to say, this all bubbles up to the newbies won't be new for long storyline. And so to completely finalize this stuff, here are just some numbers very quickly. So, should have said this earlier, but I just think this is a big part to me of why I started this stuff, is to actually dive into some of the numbers here. So I mentioned that the starting lineup actually shifted to having Klay come off the bench, and they shifted in Pajemski for Klay Thompson. I guess Pajemski is the good segue here. So this is how effective this rookie, again, a rookie, has really been for the Warriors this year. So the starters that they started the season with Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green, 287 possessions, net differential of 10.1, which puts them at the 67th percentile compared to all other lineups with at least 100 possessions. Their offensive rating was 22nd percentile. Their defensive rating was 92nd percentile. 287 possessions. Now, when Kerr threw in Pajemski into that starting lineup, so now it's Steph, Pajemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Draymond, differential jumps up to plus 28.1, which is in the 94th percentile. So they are outscoring opponents by 28.1 points per possession. 94th percentile. Offensive rating jumped up to 88th percentile, and defensive rating dropped a little bit to the 90th percentile, 285 possessions. So At the time I pulled this, so this is coming right after All-Star break, so about a week old now, so I apologize. I'm sure, whatever, depending on the schedule and all those things, I'm sure it's not, gospel here, but like just directionally is mostly what I'm trying to get at here. You went from a net differential of 10.1 to 28.1, from 67th percentile to 94th percentile. Your offensive rating went from 22nd percentile to the 88th percentile, which, side note, if your offensive rating is in the 22nd percentile and you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green as 3 of your 5, something is fucking wrong. I probably should have started there from the top as far as this collapse of the Golden Empire. You have a starting lineup with Steph Curry, period, in it, and your offensive rating is in the 22nd. Like, you need, sorry, if that doesn't underscore and illustrate everything I've tried to talk about so far, I don't know what else could. 22nd percentile to the 88th percentile on offense. Defensively, they went from 92nd percentile to the 90th percentile. Okay? So, skyrocketed from literally just putting Podziemski in instead of Klay Thompson. I'm sorry, Klay. That is some of the most like point blank, smoking gun data you can probably have. All right, we are done with the season summary, guys. I'm sorry that took so long. All right, quickly on to let's look at just pound out some more numbers really quickly. So we have on offense so far this season, their effective field goal percentage is 13th in the league. They are 5th in the league in rim field goal percentage, and they are 6th in the league in 3-point field goal percentage, whatever. Schematically, they are 3rd in offensive rebounding, and they are 7th in putback points per miss. So what does that mean? Slightly above average in their effective field goal percentage, so they're making, more proportionally, like more than average shots. They're really good at the rim, and they are also really good from 3. So there you go, hardened ball, whatever it is. We have really, really good shooters generally, which does what? It opens up the lanes to the basket, and layups are way more consistent and easier to score on than threes, and that's ultimately what we want. Is we know we can make threes, but obviously we want layups more. And then when we do take threes, what is our motto? What is our mantra? Get the board. We are 3rd in the league in offensive rebound rate. And they're, like I've been saying, they're all small. So it's not like Victor Wembanyama or, all of the length of Minnesota is just like inhaling no. Like, again, that's my point of like, and then on top of that is the putback points per miss. They're 7th. They're 3rd in offensive rebounding. They're 7th in putback points, meaning that is what they want to do. It is not like the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Sacramento Kings, where they're also undersized. But what Mike Brown for Sacramento and Dagnall on Oklahoma City, like what they have decided is we would prefer to have our guys sprint back on defense to try and stop the other team in transition. Granted, if you have an undersized center like Draymond Green who can actually run, he is going to be the guy that is going to be running back, whatever, presumably trying to help with that, but you understand my point. Cool. And again, this isn't very new. On defense, they are 10th in opponent effective field goal percentage, and they are 6th at opponent 3-point field goal percentage. So overall, top 10 in, thwarting their opponent's field goal percentage, shooting well from the field, and they are 6th in the league at defending threes. I would also say here from a schematic perspective is the Energizer Bunny's name is Podziemski, is what I have here. Again, he literally leads the league in charges drawn, so, you got to just give props where it's due. That's just awesome. So what does this all wrap up into? I just called it, in terms of the overall strength here, is same system, fresh blood. So this is always how the Warriors have beaten everybody. They are really good at shooting, which causes a lot of pressure at the arc, which opens up rim running and slashing and cutting, especially from off-ball stuff at the rim. And even when they miss shots, whether it's at the rim or from the outside, they commit to getting offensive rebounds and getting more shots on goal. They're trying to win the possession battle in the game. And then defensively, they are really good at defending, the perimeter of the court. And that is what they want to do. All right, so weaknesses now. Offensively, they are 20th in the league in free throw rate. They don't get to the line that much. Not a surprise when you are really undersized and you're not trying to bully your way to the basket, although Jonathan Kuminga, again, that is what they got Andrew Wiggins for. That is what Kuminga is getting minutes for now. Great, okay. And then schematically wise, they are 22nd in turnovers, and they are 29th in transition points scored per possession. What does that mean? One, they don't get to the line that much. They're a jump shooting team. It's not that surprising. Two, they have a lot of turnovers. You literally watch any Golden State Warriors game. That is what they do. They try to, the whole risk versus reward thing is kind of what they do. It's always like, we are hedging our bet again on us having the greatest shooter of all time, and everything centered around that, and we are just going to use Steph's gravity to open up everything for everybody else and whatever else. So a lot of these movement and cutting and things or whatever, they're inherently going to bring more risk for turnovers, and that's just what it is. Next is transition points scored per possession. They're literally the second worst team as far as transition scoring. That, my friends, is why Kuminga needs to be on the court. Okay? Because Steph, Draymond, Pajemski, as driven as these guys are and competitive as these guys, they are not going to take it to the cup, okay? They're not going to finish through contact. They're not going to go up there. God forbid Steph is going to not, he's one of the best finishers in the league as far as getting to the basket goes, but that is always in the half court. Like, literally go, the next time you watch a Warriors game, try and find a time where Steph Curry, in transition, gets to the cup. He never does, because it's always from a half-court set where his gravity, again, is like collapsing somebody, or he's taking somebody off the dribble one-on-one or something like that, or he's getting a slash, a pass from Draymond at the top of the key or something. It's never in transition, and that has never been the Golden State Warriors game. Again, because they haven't invested or given somebody like Kuminga really the chance. Even Wiggins himself, that's not really his game. He himself is not really, he is more of a finesse player. They really just needed his body, for the, sort of defensive reasons and stuff like that. But that's where, in my opinion, again, like, Kuminga matters because he actually has juice and is willing to do this. And, of course, he can jump out of the gym and is kind of a freak in that sense. So, second worst team in the league in scoring in transition is the Golden State Warriors. For the pace and space pioneers, I still find that to be fascinating. I don't know why. It just doesn't really add up to me. All right. Defense. They are 21st in the league at defending at the rim. They are the last place team in defending the mid-range, and they are 24th in the league in opponent free throw rate. And schematically, they are 23rd in the league out of 30 in opponent transition scoring. So what does that mean? They do not defend the rim very well. That would be your undersized guy in Draymond Green. Well, I kind of feel like some of these defensive rankings, again, in the past 2 weeks, they've been like the 8th rated team in the league in defensive rating. So I just feel like these are just going to
get a lot better as Draymond basically plays more if he continues to stay on the court and be available, but they don't defend the rim that well. They literally are last place in the league in defending the mid-range, so the Clippers in Oklahoma City, a.k.a. Shai Gilgeous, is going to absolutely light them on fire, which is like they are just going to get – Shai is going to get on Steph or Podziemski every single time, and he's probably going to score about 45 points a night. I digress. 20, and then they basically follow a lot. And then they also have the opponent score a lot of points on defense because everybody is committing to getting the offensive rebound. So therefore, there aren't going to be people getting back in transition to stop that. So again, it's all wrapping up to, in my opinion, my overall weakness here is, again, same exact one as the strength. Same system, fresh blood. Same system, fresh blood. Okay? We don't get back in transition to play defense because we're all going to offensive rebound. We push our defense to the perimeter, and we want the other team to shoot from the mid-range. And if they got it, they got it. You know, like Coach Budenholzer in Milwaukee, you know, with that drop defense where, you know, notoriously he was like, I don't care. I am protecting the cup as much as possible with Brook Lopez. We're just going to drop. I don't care. And then even if, you know, whatever, somehow you get Brook's guy to come all the way out, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo on the weak side, and it's literally not going to matter. Like, you are not going to score at the cup. But what does that mean? That means Trae Young can do his floaters all day on you, forever. That means Kawhi Leonard is going to light you on fire. That means, you know, anybody who can shoot out of the mid-range. DeMar DeRozan is going to also light you on fire. That is what the Warriors also do, okay? They do not defend the mid-range. They don't even defend the rim that well. And they also commit a lot of fouls. They also turn the ball over a lot. They don't score in transition. They don't defend in transition. They don't get to the free throw line that much themselves. I know this sounds like they're not very good. Hey, guess what? This is a great time to remind everybody. They're in fucking 10th place. They're in 10th place out of 15 teams in the Western Conference, okay? They're not good. They're not that good, guys. Let me just save this. Okay, there you go. Okay. Blah. Time for intangibles. Let's get this moving now. All right. Number one, of course, experience. 5 straight finals appearances. Don't even have to explain that. 2, toughness. That's what they're built on, man. You know, I would say specifically Steph, and I'd say mostly Steph. I mean, obviously Green too, but like these guys are just very, very confident, very locked in. I don't want to confuse toughness with poise, I guess, because Draymond is not poised, clearly. He is not that. He is barely in control of himself as it is, but he's tough as shit, no doubt. He's not going to back down, same with Steph. Steph is going to launch fucking insane shots in your face and probably hit them, you know what I mean? Okay, so that's what I would say there. Closers. Goes without saying. You have Steph Curry, you have closers. Same with Jamal Murray and De'Aaron Fox and a lot of these guys. Maybe not Fox this year, but you understand what I'm saying. Kawhi Leonard, whatever. All right, intangible weaknesses now. Yes. Number one is identity. So they only recently, as of the new year, really landed on this new lineup that has brought them the recent surge. Steph, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green. Wiggins barely has a pulse. We'll see if he actually finds his way back. Kuminga is a blooming, not even a sub all-star, but he's a blooming thing. He's like a very good utility piece. He's so new to actually getting reliable, consistent minutes and stuff, and he's also, again, not necessarily a perfect piece or cog within this system that has always been this way. He is actually causing kind of wrinkle in the system, if you will. However, it's proven to be quite effective, and kind of out of necessity, I think they've had to sort of roll with this, but I don't think it's a bad thing per se. We'll see, but that is what I mean when I say identity. Like Looney can't do this stuff. They've tried a bunch of different lineups. We've had, Clay coming off the bench. Is that going to work? CP3, I think he just came back after literally, he broke his hand or something. He was out for like 2 months or something. We'll see. We just got Quinones. He's averaging so many minutes as literally a two-way guy. Who knows? Excuse me. All right, sorry. And then, last but not least is poise, like I said. So I will say this one more time, and actually I'll say this 2 more times, but one more time right now is if the Warriors cannot keep Draymond on a leash, if they cannot have him control himself, this team will not only lose immediately after whatever happens, if he's out for a game, if he's out for several games, they will not even win a singular game against any of the 9 teams ahead of them in the league. In the conference. Like, I think I said before in my New Orleans video, for example, that they have the lowest floor of all the top 10 contending teams in the West. I take that back. The Golden State Warriors have the lowest floor. They do not have the depth and the luxury of the depth and talent that New Orleans has. With New Orleans, like I said in that video, they very much have a maturity problem where they know how to lose and they know how to let go of the rope. But I think just being in a playoff environment or something, like I don't necessarily see that being as much of an option or that realistic of an outcome in the postseason. If Draymond Green is not on this team, they could not. I don't think there is a single. I'll just leave it at, I don't see them actually winning a single game against literally any of the teams above them. That is fact. All right, I'm going to end that there. Cool. All right, so that is it for strengths, weaknesses, now overall takeaways. Biggest things to keep in mind. Number 1, Draymond in my Kanye era, I just talked about that. If he's not, good luck. 2, collapse of the Golden Empire. Clay's coming off the bench. I think he's going to be a Jordan Clarkson now. That's going to work out probably great, both for him and the team. I think in literally his first game coming off of the bench, he had like 35 points or something insane. So we'll see. And then 3 is newbies won't be new for long. Brandon Pajemski is a literal rookie, and he is consistently starting as the shooting guard. He's the starting shooting guard for the Golden State Warriors as a literal rookie. Jonathan Kuminga is a third-year player that before this year hadn't played more than like 12 minutes a game. Lester Quinones was on the G League to start the season. He is now a regular rotation player on this team. Trace Jackson Davis is by my estimation, I think he's going to wind up being the bench start. He's going to wind up getting most of the minutes when Draymond is on the bench. Granted, how many minutes is that going to be? I don't know, but he is a literal rookie as well. So you have Kuminga, Pajemski, Jackson Davis, and Quinones as your 4 guys. You know, Kuminga's third year, Pajemski is a rookie, Jackson Davis a rookie, Quinones rookie. So newbies won't be new for long. There you go. All right, focus areas. What do they need to focus on for the rest of the regular season? Number 1, solidify lineups and set clear expectations. So this plays into the identity part. Make sure you figure out who is going to play when and why. And particularly with CP3 having been out for so long, I really think him and Jackson Davis need to develop chemistry with each other for sure. Again, like CP3 is literally not played in so long. And he really hasn't looked good either. Post coming back from the injury, hopefully recovers and that looks better. But that CP3, Klay Thompson now coming off the bench. Obviously, CP3 will be coming off the bench too. So it'll be like CP3, Quinones, Klay Thompson, Saric, and then Jackson Davis, something like that. Like, make sure those guys are clear on what they're going to do. Setting clear expectations as well. I think that goes both ways and something I haven't seen before. Basically, hey, Pajemski, love you, been great regular season. This is really fucking serious now. What I can't have happen is you getting butthurt if I put Klay in to start instead of you, and then you just can't handle that. And vice versa. Klay, you haven't really been able to handle that until recently. And I need you to set the example here and be a role model for these guys as far as team first, ego second. We need to win. So I got no time for this. You know, we got to worry about feelings and do all this meltdown shit. Like, we're done. We've done the theater stuff for the whole year. Draymond, you're not going to be a convict. You need to be a fucking professional for once in your goddamn life. You know what I'm saying? Setting expectations and communicating them. Very important. Second, and in my opinion, literally, I think literally most important is what I just said. Keep Draymond leashed is literally what I wrote. Is if Draymond is not on the floor, they will not win a game, let alone a series. Okay? So way too early projection. I have their floor as play and loss. So right now they're in 10th and they would play the Lakers in a one-game sudden death. And then the winner of that would play the loser of 7 versus 8 for that 8th seed. To play Oklahoma City or Minnesota or whoever ends up being the 1 seed. So twofold there. One, I can just see the Warriors just not being able to handle the Lakers' length and size and stuff. That being said, the Warriors, one, just having the pedigree that they have, and then two, just having the greatest shooter of all time. That, in my opinion, really plays into their favor, because the thing with shooting teams is, if you just have Klay and Steph have an 85th percentile peak shooting night, it doesn't matter. And that, to me, is the issue with these sudden death games. You know, you think about March Madness, we're in March now. Like, I think that is why, like, that is a really good case scenario for, like, the Phoenixes, the Clippers, the Boston Celtics, you know what I mean? Where it's like, if you just have a good kind of shooting night or whatever going on, whatever it is, like, I really think that plays into the favor of the shooting team. And then you have the Lakers on the other hand, right? Where I think they're literally tied with Detroit for the fewest number of threes taken in the league. I think it's like 32% or something of their field goals are from three or something like that. They're literally tied with Detroit for the fewest number of threes. They are very much more accustomed to the grinded out over a 7-game series type of deal, right? We're going to go to the free throw line. We're going to wear you down with our physicality. By game 6, game 7, you're going to be fucking tired. That's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to win, okay? Not a 1-game sudden death thing. So I say all that now. I still think, obviously, there's a chance, right? We'll see how that kind of goes, especially, again, when you have rookies and young guys trying to compete in the postseason. Things can get weird. It's just kind of that simple. So that's why I have their floor there. I would also say Minnesota would tear them apart, is what I would also say. So if Minnesota ends up taking home the 1 seed, I don't actually feel like they will. I have a feeling Oklahoma City will, weirdly enough. And I think that would be the best case scenario for the Warriors, funny enough. Obviously, Oklahoma City would be, they're also very small, and that would be a very, very entertaining series. They're like two extremely, extremely shooting-dependent teams. And like I said before, I just I don't know. The Warriors would probably have to play Gary Payton a ton just to even stand a chance of slowing down Shea. But like I said before, they literally are last place in the league in defending the mid-range, and then they're 21st out of 30 at defending the rim, and they commit a lot of fouls, which is just Shea's bag. And they cause a lot of turnovers. They're 22nd in the league, and the Thunder force the most number of turnovers. You know what? I say all this now. Maybe Minnesota's a better matchup. I don't even know, man. But whatever. So Florida's playing. Ceiling, I'm gonna go Western Conference Finals. This is what I have. I don't think that I really don't think that's a high probability outcome. Again, let's say they get through Minnesota or Oklahoma City. You know, you're looking at Clippers or Denver, wherever that ends. Dude, I don't know. Unless you, literally, unless Wiggins comes back and something gnarly happens and he, you know, I don't know, takes some ayahuasca and goes into the woods and like finds himself or something. I don't know if I see that happening. So you know what? That's all I'm gonna say before I get myself incriminated. So thank you guys so much. That is all for the Golden State Warriors. We will obviously be keeping a close watch, but I really hope this was insightful. Again, I am really excited. Yeah, it is a jam-packed Western Conference. This is the conclusion of the Western Conference. This is the 10th team out of 15 that I have gone through, compiled the stats. I'm working on getting the files, made, and I want to get them posted. And I know I'm posting these videos all the time, but feels really good, man. So there you go. Golden State Warriors 10th place. Hopefully that's helpful, and we are going to keep the ball rolling. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. It really, really means a lot. Clearly, I care a lot, and it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun producing each one of these episodes here. And so if you want to support us, if you want to yell at us, if you want to just tell us, a proverbial pat in the back, it goes a long way. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkShank, and you can email us at TheThinkShank. I'm Skyler Reinhardt, and you can find me on Twitter at ReinhardtSkyler and Instagram at SkylerSamReinhardt. Thank you all so much again, and so excited for the rest of the season, guys.